You may not realize it, but your product page is the make or break moment of your entire business sales funnel for any product that you're selling. Because whether the people who have even made it this far into your site are going to buy or not depends largely on this page and how effective it is at getting your message across and getting people excited. So getting this right is absolutely vital to increasing your sales. That's why today I have got a bunch of tips to help you shape up your product pages, get more people more excited about your product, and drive more sales. My name is Trent Kennelly. I'm a marketing strategist, and on this channel I talk about all the things that you can do to improve your business through marketing, sales, and analytics. So if that sounds good to you and you're excited, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, comment and let me know what you're selling, and I'm sure that there will be some sort of a tweak that we can make to really make that thing pop. I would love to talk to you about it in the comments, but until then, let's get started. First, let's talk about reducing friction. So this is kind of a whole page issue here, because any page of your site, the job of that page is to get them to the next page. So you want to reduce the friction. You want to make it as smooth as possible for people to get from one page to the next. In this situation, what you're trying to do is get them to understand the basics of the product as quickly as possible so that they don't have to scroll to understand that. Because the more that someone has to scroll or read to understand everything that they can about the product, the less likely that they are to buy that product. You want them to have a snapshot of what this product is about very quickly, within 30 seconds. So let's dig into this a little bit more. You know that stat I'm always giving about having 3 seconds to interest someone and keep them on the page? That doesn't go away after the first 3 seconds. It's not like you get them to show up and read for 3 seconds and you've got them forever. It's always the next 3 seconds. How am I keeping them on the page for the next 3 seconds and the next 3 seconds and the next 3 seconds? It's a constant fight to keep them there. And I mean, once they're on a purchase page or a product page or something like that, that could extend to 5 or 10 seconds. So let's even say that you have 10 seconds on the product page that we're talking about here. That is still not that much time. It is still very easy to lose someone's interest in 10 seconds. So it is vital that you make this page easy to understand. You put that information up front that is most vital for them to want to take action and go to the next step, and to see anything like social proof or whatever. Now we'll get to a lot more details on that in just a minute, but just think of this from that perspective of friction. How can I reduce the friction? How can I make it smooth to continue down the page? All right, now let's get specific and let's talk about your cart. So when people are shopping, you want them to buy as much as possible with as little difficulty as possible. The benefit of a cart is that it allows you to store all of the products that you want to purchase and then go buy them all at one time. So what this does is it increases the products that are sold and the ease of purchase, which increases the likelihood of someone completing that purchase. Most e-commerce tools, Shopify, WooCommerce, that sort of stuff, are going to have this as part of their default service, but it's just important for you to replace your buy now button with an add to cart button so that there's always that cart in mind. Yes, this adds an extra step, but it is important if you want to increase that average order value and get more people buying more all the time, okay? This is really all you need to do to take advantage of the benefits of a cart. You just need to make sure that it's adding to a cart, not going straight to the purchase. So while we're on the topic of carts and actions and that sort of stuff, let's talk about the buttons, the call to actions that are most often buttons themselves. You should always have a call to action visible. Most of the time, if you're considering friction, you need to just think about where those buttons are and how easy it is for someone to take that action. If they're, for instance, into the details of the page, they've scrolled down a little bit and there's a point where there's no button there, then you need to put a button there, because every moment where there is no button, if they've decided in that moment that they're interested in buying and you don't have a button available, you're reducing the likelihood that they're actually going to purchase. Remember, you are looking to reduce the friction as much as possible. So here's the easiest way to do this. Just on desktop and on mobile, scroll through your product page. If there's a point where you don't see a button, add a button. Continue to scroll, do it again. If you see another point where there is no button, add another button. It's as simple as that. You need to do that for desktop and for mobile. But then looking at all of that call to action information, you might be wondering why it is that Amazon has buttons only near the top on the side of the product view for the products that they sell. Why is it that they're only showing them there? Well, this is actually a really good time to not follow Amazon's example. Amazon's interest is not to sell your product or this specific product. It's to sell a product that the buyer wants, and they don't care who it comes from. So they do things like offer products from other sellers down further below on the page, which means that they don't need to add a call to action for your product if they can get the buyer to buy anything on the page. That's what they care about. They're not in it for you, sorry, they're in it for themselves. So when we're talking about our own product pages, we're only in it for ourselves. We're only selling our own products. So we don't want to look at what Amazon's doing here. We want to have calls to action for our own products all the time so we can get people to take the action we want them to take. Next, let's talk about images. So obviously you need images for your products, but there are two main considerations for your images. There's quality and quantity. Quality is simply said that your pictures need to be high definition. If you've ever noticed those images that you can mouse over and zoom on really close with Amazon, that's something that increases the trust that people have in the products on Amazon because they can inspect that really close detail, almost like they're right in front of it without actually being right in front of it. So that high definition is very good for trust. And the only way that you can zoom like that is having a very high definition picture. And then as to quantity, you need more than one picture. People don't want just one picture. They want all of the angles of the product so that they can see all of the features and all of the little pieces and details of the product that they can see from all of those different angles. And if possible, if you have color choices, also to see those color choices on that main image so they can see how it looks on that main image as well. And then finally, if you can, you should have even a video so that people can see it in action. So here's how I would compose the product page images and videos. 4 to 5 images showing all those different angles and features of the product. If you need more, that's okay, but I wouldn't say to go above 10. It's probably too much. And then a short video that doesn't need to be fancy, just showing it in action. So a good example of the kind of video that you can use here is the original fidget spinner video. So that was just a guy holding a fidget spinner and spinning it, and there was some text on the screen talking about how it was easy to use and said it was a de-stressor or something like that. It was just one of those fidget toys, and they knew what it was and they said that that's what it was, and it exploded for a short period of time because of the video. So that sort of video can be very effective for your product, and it's underused right now. Next, let's talk options. So I kind of alluded to this in just a moment ago with multiple pictures, but your product, if it has options, has to be tailored on the product page to show those options. So for instance, let's say that you sell dog beds. There are obviously many sizes of dogs. There's some people looking for a dog bed for their Labrador Retriever, some for their Chihuahua. So you should have options to easily select from those different sizes on the same page so that you don't have a billion different products that people have to look through. They can see one product and then they can choose the sizes inside that product page. Amazon is a very good example here because all you have to do is find the bed, then you select the size that you want, and a lot of the time, as I mentioned in the last point, the image is going to change to adapt to that. Now, your image shouldn't just adapt for size, it should adapt for color options or anything else that is changeable on your product that you're trying to sell to people so that they can see in real time what the product is going to look like when they make that final purchase. However, just one cautionary point here, it's obviously good to have options for people to choose from so that they can get the thing that they want exactly as they want it, but you shouldn't give people too many options. That can be problematic as well. This is referred to as the paradox of choice. I've talked about it and many more neuromarketing ideas in this video. Great video on neuromarketing, if I do say so myself. It really breaks down a lot of those ideas that you can kind of take advantage of for your own advertising. But paradox of choice is a psychological phenomenon that shows that when you have too many choices, you end up not making any choice at all. So this is a point where you kind of need to experiment. How many options should I give them? Should I give them 2 sets of options, 1 set of options, 10 things that they can choose from inside the option, 5, what's better? We're gonna get to A/B testing and experimentation in a minute. Just understand that this is a point where you should probably mess around and figure out what works best. Next is reviews. So you want reviews on your page. You should think of this kind of like social proof. Reviews are testimonials. This is real people saying what they really think about your product. And when others who haven't purchased from you before read those reviews, they're gonna tend to trust the reviewers more than they trust you, the seller. So make sure that you're asking for reviews, especially in those early days. But important question here on reviews, should you remove the negative ones? I'd say you should be strategic about this. In the vast majority of situations, you should not remove those negative reviews. Put yourself in the shoes of the user here. If you see a product that has 100% positive review rate, are you going to trust those reviews? Not really, not unless there are just very few, like one or two. People have issues with products. It happens with every product out there that has ever existed. And angry people write angry reviews. Literally the only time that I suggest that you remove a review is if it's just incredibly salacious. Are they just making up huge lies about you? Maybe consider removal. But for the most part, it's more encouraging for people to see a product that has a lot of reviews that are just almost completely in the 4 and 5 range, with some that are in the 3, the 2, and the 1, than it is to see 100% 4 and 5 star reviews. Next, let's talk about related products. So just like we talked about with Amazon having a bunch of related products, even if they're not yours, for your product page, you want to have related products that are your products. This should not just be a hodgepodge of all the items on your site though. You should find products that are likely to be added together. So sticking with that dog theme, if someone adds a dog collar to their cart from your site, maybe they need a leash as well. What about a tag? Those are related products that go together. Those are going to increase that order value. But if they add a dog collar to their cart and you've got kitty litter as a related product, it's less likely that someone is going to add that to their cart and make that purchase. Now, as to what this related product session should ideally look like, I found that simplifying the add to cart process at this point increases the chance of a purchase. So in other words, don't always send them to the product page. So if you're on the dog collar page and they're looking at a leash, they shouldn't automatically go to the leash page. They should have the option to add to cart directly from there as well. So they can either click on the image or the title of the product to go to the product page and learn more, or they can click a button that says add to cart and they can add it to their cart directly. That just simplifies things, it reduces that friction, and it increases the likelihood that they're going to buy at the end. Finally, let's talk about split testing. So split testing, or A/B testing, it's kind of the same thing, is where you are testing one version of the product or one version of the page against another. So all businesses are different. Yours is not going to look exactly like anybody else's. You can't just assume that because it worked for someone else, it will work for you. You need to be running tests to identify the points that are working, those that aren't, and making changes more confidently. Now, again, I've made a whole video about that. You can watch that right here, but these are the highlights right here for how to A/B test. First, choose one thing to test at a time. If you have an A and a B page, but on the A page, you're keeping the headline and the button the same, and on the B page, you're testing a new headline and a new button, which one of them worked? By testing them both together, you can't identify whether the headline or the button was the thing that was effective, or if one was actually hurting your conversion rate while the other one was helping. So maybe you have a very bad new headline, but a very good new button, so people are less likely to click, but it's not because of the button, it's because of the headline. But you'd never know that because the two of them are together. So what you need to do is isolate as much as possible. Test a button with a button, a headline with a headline, one thing at a time. By testing one thing at a time, it's much easier to say, yes, this worked, or no, it didn't. The other point I want to make here is to give the test time. Depending on how much traffic you get to your site, you should probably give this test between 7 days and a month to work. The fewer amount of people that you have coming to your page, the longer it's going to take to get the good data. You're looking for statistical significance here. So if you have statistical significance, if you have a large number of people that are coming to your page after 7 days, you can probably make a determination. But if after 7 days you've only had 10, 20, 100 people come to your page, that's not enough. I would say give it a month to really get that good data. So there you go, that's a lot of tips to help make your product pages more effective. Make sure that you're really observant here, because that A/B testing is going to be absolutely vital. Everything that I told you are very important hotspots. Those are things that you should focus on, but A/B testing to understand where to put them, what text to change, etc., is really going to help you out. So let me know what you're selling in the comments. I would love to be able to help you, give you some tips about what your product page should probably look like, how it might need to be a little bit different. I would love to take a look at that for you. Otherwise, make sure that you like this video, subscribe to my channel if you're into it, and I will catch you in the next one.